OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, it's Courtney here from the OutCastedOC podcast. I will be doing the Raw recap for today. I have my notes. I just finished watching Raw, so let's talk about it. So I'm going to try and keep this as quick as I can because I've kind of noticed that there's been a few of my videos that have been very, very long, and I don't like talking for that long normally, so I'm just going to try and get this out as quick as I can, and we'll see how we get on. So I won't be talking very much about the matches. I'll kind of just talk about who the winner was. If there was any memorable spots or anything to note from the match, I'll make sure to mention it. So we started off with a promo with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They're coming up to the ring. Then we had a quick Bloodline segment, obviously from Roman Reigns talking to the Usos at Friday Night SmackDown from last week, how he was saying, you know, they're a letdown and that him and Solo will challenge Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at Night of Champions for the tag titles. So this promo was very Sami Zayn heavy. It quite literally was him being very passionate, him very hyped for obviously the match that's going to go ahead at Night of Champions. He basically goes ahead and he says that we're going up against Roman and Solo. It is a big threat, but it is a chance to get revenge on Roman and Solo. And he says that Sami Zayn said that he could have beaten Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber, but he was cheated and unchecked. He said that we will check you and that you have been unchecked for so long that you don't know when to stop. He also said that you're pushing the bloodline too much and that it's not enough. Obviously, it's not enough for you to do that. And he also called Roman Reigns a psycho. So, I mean, that's pretty much Sami Zayn's opinion of Roman Reigns. I can kind of see why he feels that way, considering all the torment and the emotional abuse that he received from Roman Reigns. So, I can see why Sami Zayn is still feeling quite jaded and obviously wants to get revenge on Roman. Then we had the Judgment Day coming out, and Sami Zayn went ahead and said that we have no issue with the Judgment Day, so I don't get why you're coming out here to interrupt the segment. And then Sami Zayn also referred to the Judgment Day as gentleman plus Dom, which I thought was quite funny because he's definitely not a man. He's a boy, for sure. So Finn said that he's here to talk to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and he said I'm wishing you guys the best of luck with Roman and Solo, and that he's not done with the bloodline. And he said once they're done with the bloodline, the line starts here for tag title contenders. So he basically was just saying that Judgment Day, they run Monday Night Raw, and Sami went ahead and said, well, I will obviously know what you think. What does Dom think? Which then Dominic Mysterio got nuclear heat from the crowd. He literally couldn't even say anything. I really like that they're doing this with Dom. They're making it to the point where he can't even get a sentence out without him being booed. There was a situation where it looked like there was going to be a bit of a beatdown, and then Rhea Ripley stepped in front of Kevin Owens, and then obviously Damian Priest got the better of the situation and started beating down on Kevin Owens. Then the match was made official for later on in the night, so we had Judgment Day versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the main event. We had a quick video package just showing that Cody Rhodes was going to be returning, Gunther's debut was going to be happening, and there was going to be a Battle Royale match to find a contender for the Intercontinental Championship, which was quite cool. Then we got into our first match of the night, which was The Miz versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Obviously, this was set up last week after the interaction that they had after the World Heavyweight quarterfinal match. Shinsuke Nakamura came out with the win, which is really good. The crowd was really behind Shinsuke as well, I really appreciated that as a wrestling fan. I think Shinsuke is really underrated and obviously underutilized at times, and I think he definitely has a lot to provide. So I think we just need to get behind him a little bit more and show WWE that, hey, we actually like this person. Please use them more on TV, rather than just putting them in crappy feuds and segments with The Miz. Then we had a quick Liv and Raquel versus Damage Control video recap, which was from Friday Night SmackDown. Then we had a quick backstage segment in Adam Pearce's office with Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville and Raquel Rodriguez, obviously addressing the fact that Liv Morgan is injured, therefore they can't do the tag team match that was scheduled last week. So they have postponed it. Sonya Deville basically said, well, because when I was an authority figure, my rule was that people had to forfeit and they had to give up their titles, which obviously that didn't happen. And Raquel Rodriguez basically said, well, I'm happy to compete on behalf of both of you guys. So I'm happy to compete against Chelsea tonight, which Adam Pearce made that official. So later on in the night, we ended up getting Chelsea Green and Raquel Rodriguez. I can talk about that when it comes to it. Quick video segment backstage showing Gunther's arrival to Monday Night Raw. Akira Tozawa came into the frame, looked quite scared and kind of ran away. So obviously they're trying to show that he's a very dominant, scary force on Monday Night Raw, as well as being one on Friday Night SmackDown. Then Corey Graves mentions that he's going to be doing this like interview segment with Seth Rollins in terms of like it's a video package on his career and his career highlights. Sits down in a chair with him, kind of like 60 Minutes style. I really enjoyed this. I like that they're putting a lot of time into Seth Rollins, obviously hyping up the fact that he's going to be a contender for the inaugural World Heavyweight Championship and the final at Night of Champions. I really hope they do the same for AJ Styles, because what this will do is this will create a way that you can't actually predict who's going to be the winner. Whereas if Seth's the only person getting these video packages, then it's quite obvious that Seth is going to win. Whereas if they put the time into AJ in the same way that they're doing with Seth this week on Monday Night Raw, it makes it hard for us as wrestling fans to figure out who's going to win. They want to make it very divisive like that. So pretty much just talks about him becoming the inaugural NXT champion, and then obviously talks about his run in the Shield, and then the chair shot, the infamous chair shot that was heard around the world. I cried when I heard the chair shot at the time, and obviously just like talking about his career and how it's progressed since. So they did this in 2 parts, which I think is a really great way of, like I said, showing the intensity of the challenges and actually showing that they are both credible threats and credible contenders for this heavyweight championship. I think having Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, who have both been former world champions, is a great way to add credibility back to this title. So then Gunther came out to the ring, and one thing I noted is that I really like how big of a deal Gunther is made to be. Obviously, he's this massive, unstoppable force. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the modern era, and they're making a note of that as well too when he got introduced. He comes out, walks around the ring, stands on top of the desk, and he just basically introduces himself, and he said he's been dominant on Friday Night SmackDown. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the modern era, and he's going to continue that mission. And he just basically said that no man on Monday Night Raw has challenged him for the Intercontinental Championship, therefore they have no respect for him. Then we ended up getting the Battle Royale match, which was going to give us a contender for the Intercontinental Championship at Night of Champions. Now, I won't really bore you with too much of the details because there was quite a lot of mid-carders in here. I did note that Apollo Crews, it was his first match back on the main roster after being on NXT, as well as JD McDonough was in the match as well too. JD McDonough had quite a bit of a spotlight with him and Dolph Ziggler, so I think Dolph Ziggler got eliminated or vice versa, and then he pretty much started beating down Dolph Ziggler on the stairs. So I think this is going to be a good feud for JD, especially him coming onto the main roster. The winner of the match was actually Mustafa Ali, which I think is kind of cool. I kind of get maybe why they've done it, because it's Saudi Arabia. They want to bring him over as like a hometown guy. I totally get that. So he's going to be challenging Gunther at Night of Champions for the Intercontinental Championship. I really like that the Intercontinental Championship as well as the United States Championship is making its way onto more premium live events. I remember there was a massive patch, like a dry spell, where we weren't getting either of the titles defended on premium live events. So it's good that Triple H is putting the time back into making this a happening thing, because sometimes the mid-card title feuds are actually better than the main event, in my opinion. Then we had a quick Backlash recap, obviously from Cody Rhodes, and obviously talking about what happened on Monday Night Raw last week. So we got to see that. Then we had a quick backstage segment of seeing Becky Lynch walking backstage. One thing I did note, and I am an absolute stickler for detail, I'll always look for things in the background because my mind sometimes wanders. I saw that Paul Heyman was speaking to the Judgment Day. So I was like, what's he doing that for? And I know that Triple H is somebody who likes to have storylines progressing in the background as well too. So not only do you have to pay attention to what's right in front of you, but you also have to pay attention to what's going on behind you, because something could easily come up in terms of actually being relevant at some point at a later date. I remember they did this with Dexter Lumis as well too, and that was the way that they kind of brought him into the fold, which I think is a really cool way of developing storylines at the same time as having ones going. Then we ended up having a promo from Becky Lynch. So she came out to the ring to address the beatdown and obviously address the hate that she's been getting from Trish Stratus since Trish Stratus attacked her. So she said that she's been going through some stuff, some struggles, and, you know, sometimes you have to put a face on to be who you want to be, and sometimes you have to man up. She said that she worked with two legends. She said that Lita was great, but Trish, not so much. And then she basically just said that, you know, she was so focused on, you know, having so much excitement towards working with Lita and Trish, who are two legends in their own right, that she completely was blind to the fact that there was a snake in the grass right in front of her, obviously referring to Trish Stratus. And she said that she couldn't help herself pretty much. And she called her an egomaniac. And then she also was referencing the fact that obviously Trish was talking about her daughter, which, I mean, I don't really like when kids get brought up into feuds, but I can understand it being for the intensity level. And obviously she said that, you know, the hit that she got from Trish Stratus when Trish turned on her was the light that's been off in Becky for months, and it's been turned back on finally, so it's created and lit that fire back under Becky that we've been missing for so long, and I'm so excited to see. Then she also just pretty much says that, you know, she wants to challenge Trish Stratus at Night of Champions, which I think is good. I was looking forward to them at SummerSlam. I get that SummerSlam's quite some far way away, so I think having this feud a little bit earlier would be nice, but I would have been happy with SummerSlam or Night of Champions. I'm happy that this is happening next week. And as this is happening as well too, we get a little wee glimpse backstage to see that Rhea Ripley's actually keeping an eye on Becky Lynch as she's walking out of the ring for her promo. So I don't know if that's referencing the history that Becky and Rhea have where, you know, there could be a feud at some point, or if it's simply just Rhea keeping tabs on women in the division. She has a really quick promo with Kathy Kelly, and also then gets, you know, to talking with Natalya. Obviously this is to further their feud, whether it's happening at Night of Champions or further. I'm not really interested in Natalya. I think she could be used much better elsewhere, and I feel like the position that she's in, while I get that she's the female workhorse who puts over talent, I kind of feel like we could be making a spot for somebody else on the roster instead of having her, you know, taking up a spot for Rhea to compete against, where we already know that Rhea's going to beat Natalya anyway. Then it was introduced that we were going to have Xavier Woods versus Dominic Mysterio match, but before that we had a quick backstage segment talking about, obviously Mustafa Ali was in the background talking about how he's, you know, I was talking to Alpha Academy, and he was basically saying, you guys need to be more positive. I was more positive, and look at me, I've got a championship match now. And then Gunther came in and said, congratulations, you probably are going to regret having to travel halfway across the world just to get beaten. Mustafa Ali responded to him and said, well, it sucks for you because you're going to go halfway across the world with the championship and then have to go halfway across the world again without the championship because I'll beat you. So this is kind of cool that they're talking about the match at Night of Champions before it even happens. So that's awesome. We had a quick video package, kind of like a teaser trailer, kind of get to know JD McDonough, which for the casual fans who don't really know much about him, it's kind of cool to see that there's a bit of a backstory behind him, especially if you haven't been able to keep up with him in NXT as well too, so that's quite cool. Then we had a quick backstage segment with Kathy Kelly watching as JD McDonough was leaving the building after the Battle Royale match. She quickly caught up with him and asked some questions about the Dolph Ziggler attack, and he, you know, he said he likes to make a scene and, you know, never bet against the Irish Ace. And like I said before, when it comes to details, I saw that Finn Balor was standing up on the balcony as JD McDonough was talking. So maybe it's a way of him looking at JD and being like, we can recruit you into Judgment Day. I don't know, but I really liked this, and especially because JD and Finn are both Irish. I'm not saying that's the reason he should join Judgment Day, but I think if they're showing him as this like crazy force, like I would love to see him in Judgment Day. Then we had a really quick match, which was a tag match with Indus Sher and some local talent. I'm not going to talk much about it. Indus Sher won, of course. Then we had a backstage segment quickly with KO and Sammy, and then Gunther and Imperium come in, and Gunther basically just says that he doesn't like the disrespect that was shown towards Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser last week, and challenges them to a match next week, which is the three of them in Imperium versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and a mystery partner. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see who that third person is going to be that will go up against Imperium with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We got to see Cody Rhodes walking in out of the car park backstage. I didn't write many notes on his promo. He basically just said that Brock's not here and was just hyping up the match for Night of Champions. I kind of didn't write very many notes. I kind of was trying to watch the episode this time around, but also a lot of Cody's promos are the same. He kind of mentioned a story about like a frog and a scorpion. So a scorpion's trying to cross the river, but he needs the frog to help him, but the frog's aware that the scorpion's going to attack him. And then the scorpion said he won't, so the frog lets the scorpion cross the river, gets halfway there and gets stung. So he basically said that a scorpion, that's within their nature, so obviously it's within Brock's nature to attack all the time, but obviously Cody's saying he's going to win at Night of Champions. There was massive Cody chants, which was really good. Obviously Cody still got a lot of momentum behind him, which I kind of felt like that had almost been lost, but I'm happy that it's still there. Then we have a quick backstage segment showing Zoe Stark talking to Nikki Cross. Then Candice comes in because Zoe's kind of picking on Nikki. And then Candice LeRae challenges Zoe Stark to a match next week. So that's kind of cool that we're going to be getting that. Then we had Raquel Rodriguez versus Chelsea Green. The winner of that match obviously was Raquel Rodriguez. Chelsea Green did really well in the match. I kind of feel like she got a really good showing to show a lot of her talent and ability within the ring. But obviously this was Raquel Rodriguez's match to win. Then we ended up getting a quick beatdown of Raquel Rodriguez by Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. We haven't seen them probably since WrestleMania, and they were basically just talking about how Raquel has to defend the title. That's pretty much the whole point of her having the title. So I'm assuming that we're going to be getting some form of feud between the four of them at some point in time, considering that Liv's not around and Ronda and Shayna beat them up. So then we have a quick little backstage video. This episode's got a lot of backstage videos in it. But anyway, Gunther and Imperium are backstage and you see someone's hand go and shake Gunther's hand. And I recognise the suit. It's Paul Heyman. So Paul Heyman is shaking Gunther's hand behind, like backstage, because he's got his phone and it's got like a visitor pass on it. So you can obviously see that there's some form of strings being pulled behind the scenes. Then we end up getting a 60-minute style backstage segment, promo, interview style thing with Corey Graves and Seth Rollins, obviously talking more about, you know, Seth's career accomplishments and talking more about the character that he is. Seth was saying that this incarnation of the Visionary is probably closest to the most authentic version of him, which I'm really excited to see that Seth's having a lot of fun in what he's doing, and obviously that this is like the most like him in terms of gimmick character that we're seeing on TV. He's saying that this has gotten over organically and it's not forced, which is obviously he's confused as to why people are behind him, but obviously he appreciates the crowd support. Then we find out that more of this is going to continue next week, but before we do, Corey asks him about Roman, and basically that Seth basically goes ahead and says that, you know, Roman is trying to protect himself rather than pushing the industry forward. So we'll find out more about Roman from Seth next week. And obviously Seth will know a lot about Roman anyway from their time in the Shield. So we'll find out more about that next week. Then we quickly find out next week that we're going to be getting a face-off, or, you know, Brock and Cody are going to be in the same arena. Then we're going to get a contract signing between Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch for their match at Night of Champions. Then we're going to have Imperium versus KO, Sami Zayn, and a mystery contender in a match, which will be quite cool. Then our main event is Judgment Day versus KO and Sami Zayn. This starts off as a normal tag match. It's really good. Then Finn Balor and Damian Priest call out for the rest of Judgment Day to come out. So that's Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley. They start to get involved in the match a little bit, and then the referee ends up trying to eject them out of ringside, so they end up just standing halfway down the ramp. Then Paul Heyman shows up, and he's on the phone. He's probably talking to Roman Reigns, if I'm perfectly honest. And so he's just sitting there, kind of halfway down the ramp, just watching the match, just watching everything play out. Then Imperium comes in and starts interfering in the match to cause Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens some grief in the match, obviously trying to get them to lose, which ultimately ends up working as Judgment Day end up winning the match. So as I mentioned before, It looks like Imperium were pulled in to pull some strings with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. And obviously Paul Heyman was talking to Judgment Day, so obviously trying to get some stuff, somewhat sorted so that KO and Sami Zayn wouldn't win. It makes sense because obviously Judgment Day have a little bit of beef with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then obviously last week the disrespect with Imperium, which creates more heat between KO, Sami Zayn and Imperium. So all in all, I actually found this was a really good episode. It flew by. It really helped towards progressing a lot of the storylines for Night of Champions. We got some extra matches made for Night of Champions, so the Intercontinental, and then we got Becky and Trish, which I'm super stoked about. The card's looking like it's really stacking up, so I'm very excited to see what happens on Friday Night SmackDown this week and to see if anything further happens in terms of women's feuds or any more matches are added to Night of Champions. So yeah, that is my recap. It is longer than I expected, but that's totally fine because there was a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. If you guys like these videos, make sure that you follow the YouTube channel, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, share the video around. Also make sure that you follow us on our social medias so you can keep up to date with everything that we're doing. We'll also be doing a podcast this week on Thursday evening for the UK and Friday morning for New Zealand. So we're going to be at our normal time. We're going to be doing a tier list video. So like ranking. I'm not too sure what we're ranking yet, but we're going to be doing like a tier list video. So that'll be quite cool. So yeah, I'll make sure to leave all the social medias down below. And if you like what we're doing, make sure you support the channel, support us, because we work really hard to give you guys content that we're really passionate about. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, or your morning, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.